Welcome, everybody. This is Gerard-𝙎𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬, and I'm happy to invite you to the Emerging GovTech live stream that we do. This month is going to be a little different. We have had Kevin and I hosting the show. Now we're going to have Dino and I. So Kevin's going to be a guest on the show this time. He'll be back from time to time, but Dino will be sitting in the chair regularly. Super excited to introduce you to Dino. So Dino, why don't you introduce yourself? I mean, because I always embarrass you when I introduce you. Why don't you introduce yourself as a new co-host of the show, and then we'll tell everybody about what we have in store for them this month.
Thank you very much, Gerard. So my name is Dino 𝙎𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬, I'm the Chief Information Officer of the United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund. I'm based in New York, but as a disclaimer that I always need to make every time I appear publicly, I'm participating in this activity in my personal capacity and not as a representative of the United Nations. So with that said, I've been with the United Nations for 25 years. Most of my career background is in IT auditing. I was a chief IT auditor for several years. And since 2017, I became the CIO.
And the UN just pulled the plug on him because he's not allowed to talk about that. I'm just kidding. I'll go ahead and fill in for Dino until he gets his audio back. So Dino is the CIO of the United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund. It's a $90 billion fund. And he also has a really strong connection with blockchain, because he had to solve a problem, and I won't get into the details of that, but he turned to blockchain to do that. And they created there at the UN an identity management solution for the retirees all over the world. And when he went to get that, when he wanted to go live with it, they said, you need to have it independently evaluated. So he looked for all kinds of different places. He went to ISO and NACBA, IEEE, and then he eventually came to the GBA and found the blockchain maturity model. That's where our friendship and relationship stemmed from. But in addition to that, he is or was the digital transformation lead for the United Nations. So in that capacity, he had oversight over the World Food Program, the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization, UNICEF, many others. And he and I became the co-leads of the United Nations Internet Governance Forum, Dynamic Coalition on Blockchain Assurance and Standardization. So he has a wealth of background and experience in identity, in AI, in quantum. He's in the process of ensuring that his own systems are AI and quantum proof. And he's got a very, very strong background in blockchain. So he's going to be the co-host. We'll get this technology issue worked out shortly. But until he does, let me tell you a little bit about the live stream today. Our focus is on artificial intelligence and how that and quantum are impacting the governments in the world. This live stream is actually pushed out through a whole variety of different platforms. It's pushed out through YouTube, X, Facebook, Truth Social. We've got our friends at CES Networks. They're pushing it out through their socials as well. So it actually gets a lot of airplay. Let me take a minute before we get started and talk to you about the sponsor of the show today. It's CES Network, and we're absolutely thrilled. Number one, they're a great organization and a great technology, but we're really grateful to them for financially supporting the show. CES is also the first layer one blockchain delivering a comprehensive AI-driven data infrastructure for Web3 and AI. So it's perfect for them to sponsor this show, because their Web3 infrastructure is specifically made for AI. It tackles a lot of the tough data challenges in government and enterprises, which includes security, privacy, sovereignty, and performance. And so it's all a decentralized platform. But one of the things that makes it really phenomenal for government is that it has features like a millisecond level data access and geofence nodes, or geofence node location. So in government, there's a lot of requirements that you don't have any of your data outside the jurisdiction of your government, and CES Networks allows you to do that. They also have a blockchain-based disaster recovery capability, and it's just really a phenomenal solution for governments and innovators to securely store, manage, and even monetize data. So anyway, CES Networks is just a great technology. You can look them up at ces.network, and also they have a token, I think, that is on the exchanges now. So by all means, check out the 𝙎 network. Check out their token. It's a phenomenal solution. So with that, Dino, it looks like you're back.
Yeah, apologies. For some reason, my connection was unstable and I missed the introductory part, but then I was reconnected and I heard you basically describing my profile. So thank you for filling in.
I was going to tell you that I told them all the embarrassing stuff about you. But,
absolutely.
But anyway, Dino, we're going to be talking about AI, and there's some things in the news. I know you had some personal experience there at the United Nations. So you want to maybe set the table and give some folks some background, and then we'll go ahead and invite our guests in.
Yes, sure. So I hope that the connection is going to be better now. Indeed, I think as you explained, Gerard, I personally was involved in the design implementation of a digital identity solution for Proof of Life for the UN Pension Fund that went live in 2021. And this solution uses a blockchain, it uses biometric facial recognition, and uses also geolocalization. However, in 2023, when AI became, if you will, massively adopted, we started to be highly concerned about deepfakes, and especially for a solution that it focuses on the digital. Basically started to seriously consider some mitigation measure. And what we did, we basically decided to fight AI with AI. We embedded an AI component in our biometric algorithm to identify, to detect, and prevent potentially cases of deepfakes. And in so doing, we have strengthened and enhanced the reliability and the security and the credibility, if you will, of the application itself. But we didn't stop there. And again, this comes from the fact that I'm a former auditor and continuously obsessed about independent verification, testing, and validation. So I subject the entire application to the test of an ISO standard that was issued in December 2023, which is the first international standard on the responsible use of artificial intelligence. Is the ISO IEC 42001 for those who are interested in knowing more and learning more about the standard. So as a result of that, we went through a very rigorous process of explaining how indeed AI is utilized in the specific process, in the specific application that we have built. So not just explaining the data input and the various LLM or whatever is the source of the data, as well as the data output, but actually going into the black box, opening the black box and explaining how the black box works, which indeed these are the objective of the ISO standard, explainability in a transparent manner. And here, of course, as you go into the process, best practices, risk assessment, maturity models, such as the blockchain maturity model, are definitely helpful in providing corroborating evidence to a certification auditor that the due diligence has been applied. But going further, as Gerard alluded to, indeed, this experience is not unique to me or to the pension fund for that matter, but is actually shared by many other organizations. So there are two articles which I believe have been made available as part of this event. One was published by Forbes, another one was published by Wired, both addressing the challenges that organization, that individual are facing when using artificial intelligence, but not only artificial intelligence in conjunction with other technologies, being a blockchain, being quantum, being biometrics, whatever that may be the case in specific implementation application. So the Forbes article indeed speaks about the fact that the deepfakes are taking over, are bypassing the know your customer, the KYC verification process that are highly utilized in the financial institution around the world. And in so doing, there is, for example, a reference to the fact that another technology, such as blockchain technology, can actually be used to complement the use of AI in, for example, ensuring the verification of identity, given the fact that you may know exactly from an immutable ledger what is the identifier that is going to provide an input to an artificial AI algorithm. Can help, therefore, in fraud detection by providing platforms that are based on decentralization, on immutability, on transparency, and therefore, as I alluded to before, try to detect and prevent potential cases of deepfakes. So this is also speaking about the convergence of this technology and how this technology, with their strengths and weaknesses, they can compensate and complement each other. On the Wired article, instead, there is an attention to, for example, approaches that are being utilized by certain subject matter experts that goes through different steps and sometimes through manual steps in order to, if you will, adopt social engineering techniques to ask questions to a potential interlocutor or counterpart to really verify whether indeed the counterpart is a real counterpart or instead is an impostor, is someone who actually misuse the technology, trying to pose and try to appear to be someone else. So I believe that these are, I think, very relevant articles that somehow with very simple and practical example are explaining what are the challenges that are being met today, have been faced by those who are living and working, operating in the digital realm, and also by providing tangible example of the benefit deriving from the convergence of emerging technologies. Back to you, Gerard.
Thanks, Dino. And it's fascinating how many deepfake scams have occurred, especially in the financial sector. Right? There's I think you and I talked about that bank employee that was scammed because he thought he was talking to his management team, but they were all deepfakes, and he wired a large sum of money. Don, by the way, we got some great people in comments conversing with us in chat. But Don had said deepfakes are at risk to incite a military strike with lethal force if misunderstood. And so I follow the Ukraine conflict, the Ukraine war a lot, and see all that's going on with drones and AI and swarms. I mean, this is a really, really important subject. And so I'm super excited about this. Let me tell you a little bit. Let me tell our audience. Oh, by the way, Mike, it's great to Mike Weiss, great to see you in here. It's great to have this community of people from around the world. It's just a part of this whole thing. But let me introduce our speakers. I actually love these two guys. They're just awesome people. Dr. 𝙎𝙥𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬 Dr. 𝙎𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬. We've actually been friends a long time. I think that's the first time I've ever said your last name. But he's a principal at 𝙎𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬 Solutions. He's which is a premier AI consulting firm specializing in custom AI solutions and training and IP consulting. He was named to the Dallas Innovates 2025 list of the top 75 people in AI. He co-founded and started a patient-centric system using innovative orthodontics, AI, and blockchain technology. I think my first interaction with him was on the GBA healthcare working group. They do a lot of stuff with AI and healthcare, and that's where I kind of learned about it. We eventually asked him to become the head of the GBA AI working group. So he'll talk a little bit about that. He's passionate about leveraging responsible and ethical AI and blockchain to revolutionize healthcare and to drive innovations across multiple business verticals, including smart cities, finance, and supply chain. He also brings a unique perspective on how the coverage of blockchain, AI, and quantum computing can really transform public sector innovations and governance. We've had him as a speaker at our in-person events at the Council on Foreign Relations and a variety of other places. So we highly regard him as an expert in the field and a friend. Kevin Jackson, also a good friend. He's with the National DigiFoundry. I'll ask him to share a little bit about some of the stuff that they're doing. He the National DigiFoundry and in his company is a GBA member, globally recognized technology thought leader with decades of experience spanning government, defense, enterprise sectors. He specializes in integrating cutting-edge technologies to drive innovation in space and terrestrial systems. So depending on where that project is, he may share some exciting things that they're doing around the world, really creating access to space, and working with one of our chapters in the Middle East. So again, I don't want to reveal anything that he can't share publicly yet, but really Kevin is on the cutting edge of AI, quantum. He spoke at one of our events recently. I've watched that video several times, Kevin, because I thought you were just absolutely brilliant talking about quantum. But he brings a deep expertise to explore how emerging technologies are really redefining trust, intelligence, and infrastructure really across domains. So we couldn't have a better panel of speakers to talk about AI, quantum, and how it's changing the world and government. So with that, let's bring up to the stage Kevin and 𝙎𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, Gerard.
Hello, good to be with you.
So good to be with you. So I hope I didn't embarrass you guys by the introduction. I really do think the world of you, and I know you guys know Dino. So there are things about Dino I wish I could tell the audience that I can't. He's literally one of the most impressive human beings I've ever met. So this is going to be a great panel. Let's jump right into it. So I'll ask you these first couple questions, and then we'll just have a conversation around it. And so we prepared a couple questions. So I'm going to combine two together, right? The first one is, what is the most exciting or most concerning aspect of the convergence between blockchain, AI, and quantum technologies as it relates to the public sector, right? And or you can answer one or both. How should governments define responsible or ethical AI when automated decisions can significantly impact people's lives? So Kevin, let me throw it over to you first. You've got a pretty diverse background in technologies, and then 𝙎𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬, we'll throw it to you. Then Dino, feel free to chime in. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on this important edition of Emerging GovTech. And artificial intelligence is really changing the landscape when it comes not just to commercial world, but to government. And one of the biggest challenges in government, and this isn't new, but the limited technical insight due to budget limitations within the government. And I also feel that, this decision processes within public sector organization tend to lag behind the rate of technological change. And as I said, these things aren't really new, but they are exacerbated because of the increasing accelerated change that technology is driving across our entire society. And finally, I like to say that there's, I guess, organizational failures to address computer-based cybersecurity vulnerabilities and threats that are introduced by artificial intelligence. And this is just an extension of current lack of cybersecurity hygiene, cyber hygiene, that many organizations in the public sector suffer today. So, and as artificial intelligence becomes more broadly accepted, I think it's really critical for governments. And this, I guess, goes to your second question. It's really critical for governance to really look at implementation of responsible and ethical AI, because it's important to focus or look at not just these large language models that operate at the core of artificial intelligence-based processes, but the training of these models and the implementation of governance in order to understand what data is used and to make sure that the data is appropriate for the application of the artificial intelligence.
Yeshwan, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with everything that Kevin just said, and I would just add that the intersection of AI and blockchain and quantum computing presents both significant opportunities to do good as well as very significant risks and problems if it is not done right. And so, I mean, blockchain, I've always viewed blockchain as a technology, very powerful technology that provides guardrails for AI, and it helps in the transparency and the data provenance and kind of removing the negative connotation of AI being a black box, and blockchain goes a long ways towards lifting the curtain, so to speak, from this black box. But quantum quantum computers provide, or rather, they represent a significant new threat. But at the same time, if you are able to implement post-quantum cryptography, then the entire system is going to be safe. So these three technologies really can work together in a very good way, but it all comes down to how they are implemented and how they are used by the various actors.
Yeah, Dino, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin made very important references, and also Javan. And I think if we look at the international, if you will, community, there are, so I'm, for example, I'm in Geneva this week for the AI for Good Global Summit. And just tomorrow, the opening, the Secretary General of the ITU, so the AI for Good is convened every year by the International Telecommunication Union. And there was a very interesting chart that was presented that 85% of the countries that are being surveyed vis-a-vis artificial intelligence, emerging technology, do not have yet a strategy. They don't have a national strategy. So I think that when we are looking at the national level, at the international level, I think one of the starting point is really to have a strategic approach, a strategic vision, where you're not looking at this emerging technology, being AI, being quantum, being blockchain, in isolation, but you're looking at in a systemic manner vis-a-vis the interrelationship that exists, that they must exist amongst them. And therefore, I think that when you are looking from a public sector point of view at this technology, then you can start seeing both the risk as well as the opportunities that can be exploited, so to speak, to make sure that they are used for the benefit of all, and that they are used in a way that is responsible and ethical. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to sort of highlight something that Dino said, in that if 85% of the governments have no strategy for implementing AI, that means that 85% have no requirements for the implementation of AI. And this sort of highlights a statement that Yeshwan said, is that blockchain is a very powerful technology that can provide guardrails for AI, but if there's no requirement to use immutable data to support the training of AI, then that means there are no guardrails. So one of the biggest issues we have today is that lack of governance. when AI is being leveraged.
I think the next time we do this this event, I'm not going to write any questions in advance because the questions and comments coming in are so insightful. They're better than the ones that I wrote. And Michael Hoffman, it's great to see you again. I hope things are going well for you down south. But blockchain insights, and Michael, I'll come to your comments in a second. But blockchain insights actually made a great comment. It says, what role should government play in regulating powerful AI models like ChatGPT and DeepSeek, or any kind of anonymous weapons? And Yeshwan, I want to throw this over to you because it's important for the government to set some kind of rules and policies, but they need some help. And you're doing some work with standards with blockchain and AI. So let me throw the question to you first. What role should government play in regulating powerful AI models like ChatGPT and DeepSeek or autonomous weapons? And how is the work you're doing with the GBA supporting governments being able to set some rules?
Sure. I think there is always this debate that you do not want too much of the quote unquote interference by the government and there is a lot of concern about stifling innovation. But AI is not any other technology. AI is transformational. It is here to stay. So I do believe that given the somewhat poor track record of big tech in kind of self-regulation, government needs to play a role in here. And what they can do is insist on transparency, insist that the data provenance and data ownership be made very clear right from the beginning, right from the stage of data collection and data training. The training of the models, and also during the model testing. You want to have the ability to see what the AI model is doing. AI is now being used in some very high profile and very sensitive areas like healthcare and law and finance. And there you need to be able to give people an idea of why the AI model is doing what it's doing. And that's where I think blockchain has a great role to play. Going back to this notion of blockchain being an effective guardrail against AI, there are a lot of features that blockchain offers for free, quote unquote, for free, because you are able to create an immutable audit trail with the help of blockchain. You are able to clearly record every the data transformation that the AI model can do on the blockchain. And the part that I like is you can use smart contracts for automated checks for compliance. If the AI model isn't passing the automated rules for practicing ethical and responsible AI, you do not clear that model for deployment. And those are the features that I still see of great value when you are using AI with blockchain. Now, when it comes to what the GBA is doing, I recently took on the chairmanship of the AI working group within GBA, and we are going to resume work on the BMM AI supplement, which has not seen any work done on it since early last year. But I think now is a great time to go back to it and try and get a fully functional version out. And I see great value in the AI supplement to the blockchain maturity model, because the BMM, as it has these 5 levels of compliance based on, I think it's across a total of 11 elements that any blockchain solution has to satisfy. And now when you add the AI supplement on on top of that. So any AI solution that is using blockchain can now has to satisfy this additional set of AI specific requirements to be then considered BMM compliant at one of these 5 levels. So I think when you add the AI supplement to the existing BMM, it creates a powerful way to assess how good an AI solution is.
Yeah, that's excellent. In fact, recently a government out in California made a BMM requirement part of their RFP, right? And so I understand that the blockchain maturity model was used in a Mexican acquisition and several others. In fact, in India, the government of India has identified that they want to support the blockchain maturity model adoption by Indian software companies. So they're actually subsidizing blockchain maturity model supplements for blockchain startups in India because they want those companies in India to be able to export their software all over the world and bring revenue. So the blockchain maturity model is really being used as a technology driver, right, to drive economic development in the technology areas. Dino, you were one of the authors of the blockchain maturity model, and you're recently looking at it to basically use blockchain to prevent government fraud. No, I'm sorry, to protect identities from deep fakes and AI attacks. You want to share a little bit about some of the controls that you've built into that model and how that supplement really supports this whole topic?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, for those that maybe are not very familiar with the blockchain maturity model, it's a model that is technologically agnostic and that is being developed to help organization and individual to assess or self-assess, again, the level of maturity of a blockchain application. It is predicated on 11 domains with 5 levels of maturity from initial to optimize. I had the privilege to be part of the team that developed this model. And as we started to test the validity, the effectiveness of the model, we soon became aware that there was also a need to take an extra step in allowing also assessment to go beyond the maturity of a blockchain, but also to take into consideration the context within which a blockchain solution is intended to be used or it is already in use. And this is when we started to identify the need to develop supplements to the blockchain maturity model. And therefore, we started to document supplement on blockchain in voting and election, blockchain in digital health, blockchain in artificial intelligence. One of these additional supplement is the one that I had, again, the privilege to be directly involved, which is the supplement on identity management. Basically, providing additional level of control to establish the maturity of a blockchain solution that is specifically intended to support BIMs, blockchain identity management solution. And in the first version of the supplement, we were very comprehensive in identifying a series of potential risks as well as control by, very practically speaking, following the life cycle of identity management and the blockchain role in supporting the various steps that are part of this life cycle. Moving forward, as I alluded to before in my personal professional experience with a solution that was developed for the UN Pension Fund, we also immediately identified the need to integrate and complement the supplement with the consideration of risk and associated mitigating controls for deepfakes, for potential deepfakes, and offer, whether it is an entity that intends to self-assess itself or whether it's an assessment team that instead is called to perform, to conduct an independent assessment, a series of potential risk scenario and associated mitigating control that does directly, specifically referencing scenario where deepfakes can be used. Of course, deepfakes would apply in scenario where there are biometrics, mostly facial recognition, but also in voice recognition and other type of dimension. But this, I think, speaks to the fact that this domain is in continuous evolution, and there is the need to really have dedicated and focused subject matter expert that keeps track of how this technology can and it is utilized, both from the positive side, if you will, as well as, unfortunately, potentially to the malicious side, and be aware of these potential threats, this potential risk, and have, again, this maturity model, this supplement, these best practices available to contrast and compare where indeed the condition that may be implemented, may be the reality of an organization, is really aligned with the risk that can be faced in an organization that, for example, uses a blockchain to support identity management in a large scale or in commercial implementation. Back to you. Thank you.
We can ask if the producer could drop the links in for the blockchain maturity model. The working groups we have, GVA's got a lot of working groups that are looking at, AI really spans a ton of different subjects, right? So healthcare, where 𝙎𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬 works, right? Identity management, supply chain, all these things. So the working groups are looking at the problem from a variety of all these different perspectives. The blockchain maturity model is sort of the central nervous system where we can sort of tie these things together. But I want to go back to the comments. So Michael Hoffman, who is also the GVA Identity Management Working Group lead, he said identity and physical property should be foundational. So Kevin, you've been doing a lot of stuff with tokenization, right? With tokenizing assets, right? And so the issue of identity, and so I'm kind of curious, where does AI kind of fall into place? We talked about identity from Dino's perspective, and there's a lot of we talked about financial frauds and scams and stuff like that. We haven't talked to Yeshwan about where that falls in from a healthcare perspective, but I'm sure there's a lot there. But in terms of the work that you're doing, and maybe share some of the work that you're doing with Constellation Network and tokenization, and Chris, is there an interplay there between identifying stuff and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that are happening very quickly, but surprising is kind of quiet, is how the global economic structure is being changed. And that's being done by the adoption of tokenization, where entities, financial entities, investors are using blockchain, the sort of function of tokenizing real world assets, to keep track of and enhance the visibility of economic exchanges in our society. Everyone knows what Bitcoin is. And one of the most important aspects of Bitcoin is the fact that it's on blockchain that enables visibility, and that every transaction on blockchain is driven by a smart contract. And this sort of foundational approach is now being assigned to the trading of shares on the stock market. And this is an area that will affect everyone and how they leverage, how they spend their money, or how they make agreements, contracts in the world. And this is an important area for government to basically have a role. So what we are doing is leveraging blockchain and leveraging tokenization in order to provide more visibility in transactions associated with public infrastructure, things like stadiums, sports stadiums, where there are often agreements, contracts that are public-private partnerships in order to improve the economics of a region. We're also looking at leveraging the process of tokenization for major infrastructure action. In our case, we are looking at developing a spaceport and leveraging the act of tokenization to provide more visibility into how that asset is being used. And this sort of highlights an important role of governments like India in leading and incentivizing a focus on transparency and visibility into AI model development, data training, and technical implementation aspects, because artificial intelligence is being used to actually manage transactions based upon tokenization. And smart contracts are being used to ensure that not just investors get benefit from these tokenizing processes, but that the public sector shares in the benefit of these huge economic changes. So government should not focus on rules and regulation, but focus on improving transparency and visibility for all.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, if you want to reach out to Kevin, it's a National DigiFoundry, and the work that he's doing with Constellation Networks is just awesome. By all means, please look them up. And Kevin, I just forgot the name of the other company you work with.
So Forward Edge AI. I'm the vice president for space commercialization and communications. And we actually just launched a quantum-resistant encryption solution that's in orbit right now, and we are testing to try to protect the information and data that we depend upon every day. When's the last time you used GPS? That comes from space. So you need to protect the information that we use in our space infrastructure, which in its own right is changing the economics of the world.
And most people don't realize how big and important and massive the space economy is becoming. I know, Kevin, that you're working with our Kingdom of Saudi Arabia chapter to really get some things going there. So it really all over the world and countries, can I share the name of the country that you're building the spaceport in, or is that confidential?
Yeah, please don't.
Okay. So anyway, the point that I want to make is even countries that you would not think have a space program, right, are getting space programs. And
every country is now looking into how to leverage space for their own economy.
Yeah, incredible. Now, you just kind of moved us into the next topic area, right, which is quantum, right? So Yeshwat, I think you and I were talking about, garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in through a fire hose, right, is a pretty big problem. And part of that conversation we talked about is it's not only the problem is that you might trust something that's fake, but now you might not trust something that is real, right? And one of the comments in here, I don't remember who made it, was about sort of religious stuff. And so, Dino, I don't know, Dino has had an opportunity to work with religious organizations that, I saw something online the other day for AI Jesus, right? And here's the thing: people are going to these things, and they're going to this digital destination, right? And so, number one, so Dino, I'm going to come back to you to see if you'd like to share any thoughts about how do we trust information like that, right? Information of antiquity. But Yeshwan and Kevin, before we get there, let's talk a little bit about quantum. What is the real risk, right? People talk about quantum. Is it going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen in 100 years, right? What are the things we should do now? Do we need to worry about it now? So, Yeshwan, let me go to you first, and then Kevin, why don't you hit it?
Yeah, I mean, quantum is not yet here, but we are looking at a post-quantum future that's going to arrive much sooner than we think. And what do I mean by that? The NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, is actually designated 2030 as Y2Q. I mean, for people who are old enough, you probably do remember Y2K. I do. But Y2Q is basically stands for the year of the quantum. And the understanding is, even though right now, the largest quantum computer with a stable number of qubits is around 1,121. It is almost taken as a truism that around the year 2030 or even before that, we are going to be able to have quantum computers with about 1 million stable qubits. And what that means is the encryption technologies like RSA 2048 will be broken by those quantum computers. It has already been shown that you need only about 4,099 logical qubits to break RSA to RSA 2048. But in reality, I mean, each logical qubit, it actually requires around 10,000 physical qubits. So the point here is quantum computing is becoming very real. And what we are seeing is hackers around the world are adopting a harvest now, decrypt later philosophy. And what that means is they are actually trying to get encrypted data, as much of encrypted data as they can now, even though they cannot break into it, but they are doing so in the hope that very soon they might be able to break into it once these quantum computers with a large number of qubits become fully operational. And that is a very scary thought. All of the blockchain technologies and public key cryptography that we now take for granted, they all could be broken very soon. Bitcoin mining uses 𝙎𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬, which right now is considered one of the most secure hash encryption algorithm. But it is possible that 𝙎𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬 can also be broken with a strong enough quantum machine. So everything that we are taking for granted is potentially at risk, which is why if you actually look at the documents from NIST, they are actually urging all government agencies to begin an assessment of their existing cryptographic assets. And they are actually saying that 2030 is basically the drop dead date by which you need to prepare quantum cryptography. And so the threat is very real, even though it might seem like it's very far-fetched. I mean, we are already in the middle of 2025, and 2030 in the larger scheme of things is like next week. So we need to prepare for that. And also the other aspect of quantum is quantum enhanced machine learning provides a lot of advantages as well as a lot of threats, because I mean, right now GPUs are the kings of the domain, but once quantum computers become operational at the level that we think that they are going to be, they are going to make GPUs look like child's play, because you are going to be able to see real-time machine learning that is super fast, which is going to enable things like real-time decision making. And so at the same time, quantum enhanced AI in the hands of the bad guys is also going to mean that your privacy and individual anonymity is going to be a thing of the past, because they're going to be able to do things like biometric identification from a distance, heartbeat analysis from across a wall. And I mean, a lot of things that are not possible right now are going to be enabled with the advent of quantum computers.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, just to let you know, I've been involved in Y2Q for about 40 years, because all the girls in college would always say that you're too cute.
Oh, no. That was horrible. That was horrible, Gerard.
That was, but I had at least one in there and everything else. Kevin, 𝙎𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬 gave us a lot of content there. Is there anything you want to add to it? Because I know you and he probably feel the same way on a lot of this stuff.
Well, to be honest, I have maybe a bit of a contrarian view, because I think there is a more dangerous, clear and present danger today that people aren't thinking about. And I believe there's less of an urgency to adopt post-quantum cryptography than there is a critical need to deploy systems and implement strategies that are resistant to quantum-enabled or even quantum-inspired attacks. When you think about harvest now, decrypt later, this is a quantum-inspired attack where the bad guys are thinking about the future before you are. So you have to implement strategies today that protect yourself, protect your data against what the bad guys are doing today.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call that contrarian. I mean, I think that that's you're both making the same points. There's different issues at different points in time. Dino, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any comments you'd like to make? Do you have any questions for 𝙎𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬 and Kevin that you'd like to ask him from this perspective?
Well, yeah. So from my point of view, I would just add two comments, and of course, be curious and interested about their opinion. The first one is that as we move along in the adoption of these technologies, being artificial intelligence or being quantum, and again, speaking for personal and direct experience, because having implemented a blockchain-based solution, again, with that professional deformation of an auditor, I immediately start asking myself, what are the risks that I'm exposed to? And one of the risks, as Yvonne clearly stated and indicated, is the risk of the blockchain become useless if indeed the cryptographic primitives that are used are going to be breached by a technology that is in continuous evolution. And in so doing, one of the first lesson that I learned is also to go back to basics, that in order to understand and appreciate, one, the exposure, and two, the potential mitigation control, is that you know what data you are feeding into the system. And you have a data governance structure within your organization. And for example, speaking about governance structure, you also have a data retention schedule to understand whether or not vis-a-vis this timeline that are being thrown out, whether it's 5 years or 10 years, whatever that may be, the quantum will become a reality vis-a-vis the threat that it poses to cryptography, to understand whether the cost-benefit analysis to protect certain system is there or not vis-a-vis the life cycle, the utility of the data themselves. So I think that as we are using more and more sophisticated technology, we also need to remember the basic function of data governance, data structure, data retention, data classification, and so forth and so on. The second comment is, again, going back to the example that I used before, vis-a-vis, again, my personal experience of trying to open the black box, is that this black box becomes more and more complicated. And although I spoke in a positive way about our attempts to open it and explaining it, I also realized that the human being's ability to explain the black box is becoming less and less capable, because you start dealing with millions of billions of data and permutation that the human being has a very hard time to explain, to understand. And ultimately, to understand the difference between correlation and causation in this complex system, in this complex algorithm, is really, really becoming very, very difficult. So that's something that we should all pause and think about our ability, or whether we need to create other tools to analyze and monitor the current tools that we are putting in place. Back to you.
Thank you, Dino. So we're running out of time. I want to just make another quick note about SES Networks, our sponsor. When we come back, I want to talk about two things. Dino, I want to give you a chance to share with the audience to the degree how can we protect some of these historic documents. I know that that leaders in different religious organizations are looking at how we maintain the integrity in a digital world where things are changing. And then how can people kind of get involved, right? There's some of the work that you guys are doing, some of the work that GVA is doing. So, but before I go on there, I just want to remind everybody that and thank SES Network for sponsoring this event. SES Network is under the Blockchain Maturity Model Rating. In fact, if we could put the link in the chat to the directory, that would be awesome. But they're one of the few layer 1 protocols that have earned a Blockchain Maturity Model Rating, like Dino and 𝘾𝙤𝙤𝙬𝙬𝙬 said. It's a very robust evaluation process. There's 5 levels of maturity. There's 11 elements. It's pretty robust, but they pass with flying colors, and they really stand out as a way to really. It's an AI optimized data infrastructure, really built for Web3 enterprises and AI solutions. Again, their ability to be able to segregate data in terms of the training models, the training data, their ability to have geofenced nodes and just the incredible speed of it. It's a phenomenal technology. So if you don't know much about it, check out ses.network. If you are somebody that likes to look at different tokens and stuff like that, by all means, please evaluate their tokens. We don't give out financial advice on this program, but it is a phenomenal project for people to research and honestly, really sort of setting the pace in this technology. So with that, let me go back to you, Dino, to give you a chance to answer the question that if you'd like to, as religious organizations and folks dealing with antiquities and history, right? What are some things that are being discussed about how to protect some of this data, and then we'll go into how can people get involved, and then we'll go from there.
I mean, very, very simple. I'm actually just going to refer the audience to a public resource. If you go to romecall.org, you will find 6 very simple principles that have been developed by the Pontifical Academy of Life of the Vatican. And this principle has been endorsed by the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, by the Italian government, as well by the private sector. For example, Microsoft and IBM subscribe to this principle. And they're very simple but very meaningful principle. And they go from transparency to inclusion, from responsibility to impartiality, and from reliability to security and privacy. So romecall.org, you will find this simple but very powerful, meaningful principle, which I think will be very useful in directing the effort of those that wants to use this. I'm not going to say AI for good or blockchain for good. Maybe we can use the expression emerging technology for good. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. All right. So, Kevin, if folks are interested in any of the stuff that you talked about, how are ways that they can connect with you, connect with the GBA, connect with any of these projects? What are some ways that people can, in a meaningful way, kind of dive deeper into the subject?
Well, thank you very much. I'm on LinkedIn, but you can also reach out to me through Kevin@digifoundry.org or on X, Kevin_Jackson, or through the Government Blockchain Association. So I answer to a lot of channels. So look forward to continuing the discussion.
Yeah, and if anybody sends an email to support@gbaglobal.org, we can get their thoughts and comments to the right people. Jeswant, and then Dino, I want you maybe just mention a little bit about the Dynamic Coalition, because that's a great way for people to get involved there. But Jeswant, if people want to get in touch with you and want to work on any of the stuff that you're working on, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure, you can. I mean, I am on LinkedIn. I am very active on LinkedIn. Or you can also reach me at my email, which is my first name, which you see on the screen. That's 𝙎𝙥𝙤𝙧𝙚.com, which is the name of my firm, which is what you see in the back. So it's 𝙎𝙤𝙧𝙚@𝙎𝙥.com. I am also a member of the GBA, and I would invite anybody who's interested in AI and blockchain to join the AI working group. We are going to ramp back up and try and get the AI supplement fully fleshed out. Just one point while I still have the floor, I didn't mean to sound too much of a gloom and doom with respect to quantum computing. I also wanted to mention that there is a lot of work, very active work being done in quantum resistant blockchain and post-quantum cryptography that people need to be aware of. There is something called QRL, which is the Quantum Resistant Ledger Project, and that is focusing on blockchain systems built with post-quantum cryptography. If people are interested, I'll be happy to share the link. And there are a lot of other hybrid quantum resistant solutions in the works. So people are actually getting ahead of the curve. People know that this is in the very near future, and that there's a lot of talk about the Y2Q, which is the year 2030. So people are getting prepared for it. You don't need to be concerned that Bitcoin mining will be completely compromised. I think we will have something to protect that well in advance. So with that, I'm going to hand back to you, Gerard. Just want to mention that.
Sounds good.
Hey, real quick. Dino, what was the name of that website you mentioned? Room call or roll call?
No, Rome like the city. ROMECALL.org. Romecall.org.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dino, last thing, how do people get involved with the Dynamic Coalition if they want to participate? And by all means, everybody, please join the GBA, gbaglobal.org, where that's where all the stuff happens. But Dino, Dynamic Coalition, and then we'll let everybody roll.
Yes, basically, this initiative is an expression of the activities of the Dynamic Coalition, basically working group of the UN Internet Governance Forum, an initiative that has been taking place every year for the last 20 years. You can go to intgovforum.org. Again, INTGOVFORUM, intgovforum.org. And under the tab Intersessional Activities, you have the list of the 32 Dynamic Coalition, one of which is our Dynamic Coalition on blockchain assurance and standardization. If you don't want to go through that a little bit cumbersome part, go on Google, put DC-BAS, BAS, Dynamic Coalition Blockchain Assurance Standardization. You will find our page, and there are all the information, the detail to join our Dynamic Coalition. Is free to join. And basically, we are working in the spirit of the IGF, which is to be multi-stakeholder, bring together the UN, member states, academia, civil society, and private sector, and the technical community. Thank you.
And if you missed any of that, you want any of the information from this show, by all means, this will be on the GBA YouTube channel. So please subscribe to the GBA YouTube channel. You can, all of this stuff will be there. And if that doesn't work, just send an email to support@gbaglobal.org and we'll get the information to you. Kevin, Yeshwan, thank you so much for being guest on the show. Dino, I'm absolutely thrilled and excited about having you as a co-host. Kevin, this is a great transition to the next chapter in the live streams. But Kevin was instrumental in really birthing this, and so we have a lot to thank him for. And we have great things in the future. I'm just excited to see where it all goes. So thank you, everybody. You guys have a great one, and we'll see you next month. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Gerard. Everyone.